right up to the bits, right up to schedule.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Desert Farmer Podcast, episode 70. So we are here today. It is September, and so we are thinking all about what?
Planting.
That's right. I'm sure a lot of you are out there too. But before we get to that, we have a couple of housekeeping notes that we want to cover with you guys today. So housekeeping note number 1 today is what?
If you have a question, just write the word question, preferably in caps, before you state your question. That way I don't miss it and can get that read and hopefully get that answered for you.
Yes, so you'll be paying attention down to the chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
She might interact with you guys a little bit in there, but she's keeping an eye on everybody. Cracking the whip on anybody who's getting out of control, asking too many questions, right? Is there a limit on questions?
No.
Okay, as many as you want. But housekeeping note number 2 is give us a thumbs up. So if you enjoy the content, particularly this podcast, and find it useful, if you can give us a thumbs up, that is very helpful, not only for today, but also as this podcast goes into our archives. All those things will definitely help us out. Okay, so we have a good topic, I think, today that's very timely. We're going to talk about the reason why here in just a minute. Before we do that, though, to allow everybody a chance to kind of get here for the topic, have a couple things we want to cover. What's the first one?
As far as highlights this week, we got some more rain.
We did, and it was windy. We got a little bit of rain, right? I think it was, is this the one where we got the rain in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it rained on us in the middle of the night. So
yeah, we were expecting it the next day, and then, we woke up that day and it had rained.
Right. What's nice is when things like that happen, we get a monsoon that comes through. You guys know that if you're here in Arizona, what's great is it knocks the temperatures down. Mm-hmm. And this one, because there was a hurricane or a tropical storm down in Mexico, and so that's usually how this works, push some of that moisture up towards us, and it didn't turn into a hurricane, or apparently, weren't you telling me that it didn't turn into a hurricane? They thought it was gonna and broke up.
I don't know yeah.
Either way, so we didn't get the rain that we thought we might. At one point, they thought they were going to get we might get up to an inch of rain and some flooding, and then all we got was just kind of a little bit of rain overnight.
Yeah.
But it brings the temps down, brings the humidity up. So we had one day we were about 80% humidity. That was uncomfortable, but it is keeping the temperatures down a little bit, and it looks like kind of extended, right?
Yeah, there's nothing in the hundreds for the next 10 days at least.
Yeah. So we figured, seeing that, this was a good timing because I know all of us at this point are thinking, hey, when can we plant? And that storm really kind of kicked that into gear for us. So it's why we're talking about this today. Mm-hmm. And then number 2.
We got our next batch of nuggets in. It's our little broiler chickens.
Yep. So we got those in on Thursday, and we do 2 batches of broiler chickens because of our weather. So we're really kind of stuck to that. Plus our pasture, it's 6,000 square feet. It can only take them twice a year. So we split that up between fall and spring is the 2 times that we do that. And it's also when the birds are the most comfortable because in the middle of winter, we're still very cold. We get down to 20 degrees in the middle of winter, which is too cold for those birds. And during the middle of summer, it's just a little bit too hot. It stresses them out way too much. We put them in chicken tractors a little too crammed, and so it's best to just avoid that time frame. But fall is really the one that I think we have the most fun with because we do what?
We do the workshop, the chicken processing workshop, where we invite some folks out and teach them how to process chickens.
Yes.
Themselves.
And what's nice about the fall batch as well, it tends to be our healthiest batch of chickens, right? Because they get here in the middle of summer. They basically don't even, we have a kind of dumbed down heat lamp on them because they don't need a lot of heat. Still very, very warm in the outbuilding. We lost 5 that were basically DOA, and that happens from time to time. But we haven't lost any since. During the wintertime, that spring batch, we struggle with that a little bit. And it's because they are cold before they get here. And if they get cold at any point in time after they're born, that whole time they're alive, they struggle a bit, right? We struggle with losses kind of throughout those seasons. And we haven't really figured out timing-wise how to get around that. But either way, these are doing fantastic. And these will be ready for our workshop here
Yep.
coming up in November. I think it's like November 1st or something, right?
Yeah.
Something around there.
Second.
So,
something like that.
yeah, so we'll have a few folks out. It's kind of neat to get everybody together for that because it's right before the holiday season and cools off, the air's a little crisp, and you learn a valuable skill. And yeah, we get folks out to the farms. It's kind of neat. Okay, so before we get started on the topic of today, when it comes to planting, do we have any questions or comments we want to highlight, or are we ready to dig in?
So, hi farmers. I brought Gandila seeds. Can I plant them on American soil? I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure
Here.
what that is either. What is it?
Granadilla.
Granadilla seeds. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Let me Google it.
Lori's off. Was there another question while we're there?
My clementine on 4 Winds rootstock, California or Texas company I bought from nursery. It's been dying back all summer, but now putting off blossom and a few new leaves, about 2 feet tall.
That sounds about right. It's the wrong rootstock, and so we've run into that as well, and it's gonna always struggle. So we've had I don't know whether or not we've had that particular rootstock, but it's been quite a while since we faced it. But we had a clementine mandarin type fruit on the old farm that we got from Costco, obviously the wrong rootstock. And that tree always struggled, and it's a lot like what you're describing. So it would basically be dying when it should be growing, and then it would try to grow when it really shouldn't be, or the other ones are just doing much better. And that's always a sign that obviously the tree is struggling, and I would focus on the rootstock. It sounds like it's the rootstock. So unfortunately, there's really not a way around it, and the reason being it's when you have an incorrect rootstock, especially on citrus. Our citrus rootstocks here are designed for our alkaline soils, also the saline in the soil. So they're salty. So there's some salt there, which is pretty typical, and a couple other things. And so those rootstocks are designed for that. And because of those things, the other rootstocks will always struggle. And what happens is the trees don't have the ability to effectively take up nutrients or even water. And so it basically blocks it out. And so it can't drink or eat. Is what's happening. And so that's why you're seeing it struggle. It should have been fine all summer long. We had a relatively calm summer as far as heat was concerned. It was pretty normal. Most days were about normal or average temperature, kind of a little plus or minus, but unlike the last 2 years which were just record-breaking years with multiple days of record 110 plus, we didn't have that this summer. And so all of our citrus trees here, this is the best they've looked at this point in summer for the last couple of years. So that is definitely not normal. And I would say, yeah, it's probably the rootstock. If it was me, I would pull the tree. If it was me.
So he had kind of asked, trying to figure best option,
Yeah.
keep it in ground until it either dies or dig up and hope it survives in a pot.
Right. So that would be your other option. So you can either just replace it, toss it, or you can put it in a pot. A potting soil is not necessarily ideal for that either. If it's a California rootstock, they have similar soil to ours, not the same. And so, but it's designed to be in not in high organic matter soil either. And so, but sure, you can give it a shot if you don't want to just toss it, and lose your investment. Sure. Yeah.
So if I dig it up and put in a pot, should I remove all soil from roots and plant in citrus soil in a 15-gallon pot?
I don't know that I would remove all the soil because these are not designed to be bare root trees. They're evergreens. And so if you remove all the soil, that's a tremendous amount of shock for a citrus tree. We've had it. We actually made the mistake of doing that with a tree across the street that eventually died, but it survived for about 1.5 years. And the only thing that killed it actually was not the transplant. It was our free-range cattle and some sheep that kept munching on the leaves. But it's worth a try. I would, if you can keep some of the soil immediately around the bulk of the root mass, you probably should, only to try to lessen the shock a little bit. But it's gonna be tough and really dicey no matter what you do, I think. So.
And then that one fruit, it looks like they took the question off of there, but so it's I'm guessing similar to a passion fruit. So it says it's not the same as passion fruit. Rather, it's a type of passion fruit.
Okay.
Belonging to the same,
So like the same family. Oh, cool. I think it's worth giving it a shot. I'm not aware of any reason why you couldn't. So.
And there's a lot of people here that grow passion fruit. We failed at it just because we got too cold.
Yeah. Our 20
hot.
No, it was cold. Yeah, our 20 degree. It was that same year we went down to 20 degrees and lost the moringa tree. We lost the Barbados cherry. We wiped out all of our tropical trees. So, any other questions?
Have you tried another one that I don't know what it is?
Chaya?
Before, also called Mayan tree spinach.
No, I have not. So I know actually tree spinach or tree kale. I think didn't we have one of those in the ground at one point in time? Mm-hmm. It grew a bit and then we lost it.
Yeah.
So I think somebody gifted one of those to us, but no, haven't tried that.
Mm-mm.
So
I will be planting Pakistan mulberry and the berries in the coming days.
Yeah, speak up a little because I can't hear what you're saying anymore. Goomy? It's like,
I never know how to say that one.
Were you trailing off because you didn't know what you were saying?
Yeah. I never know how to pronounce it.
It's goomy. Yeah, it's goomy berries. All right, we good? We caught up?
Yep.
All right, I know how much you guys enjoy my PowerPoints, and so I put a PowerPoint together for you guys today. So if you're wondering, the answer is yes. And again, if you guys are on the podcast, it's only sound. Don't worry, we're going to step through these. But for anybody watching, they get a PowerPoint today. So we are going to be talking a little bit about fall versus spring planting. When is the best time to plant? Is it now, or is it waiting until spring? What do you plant now? What do you plant in the spring? And so the focus today is going to be which is best and why. Fall versus spring planting. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this. So we're going to start with fall, winter, because obviously that's us right now. First day of fall happens here in a couple of weeks in September. Now, for us here in Arizona, fall is fairly non-existent. Our falls are very similar to our springs, very short, and sometimes we don't realize they happened. But we are going to go ahead and go with our fall. So want to talk a little bit about this, and I apologize for the size of this. Hopefully you guys can read it okay, but there was a lot of information on this first page. First one is timing. So the key as far as fall planting, we'll focus on fall, is you need to make sure you're waiting until the temps are below 100 degrees. So now that is sometimes a little dicey for us, especially in the month of September. So I hesitate to say that September is a good planting month for us here in Arizona, because not necessarily. As you guys know, when it comes to the month of September, even though we do hit official fall, we really don't start seeing true fall weather here until November or December, let's be honest. So we're still seeing summertime temperatures in the month of September, even into October, and sometimes again that pushes into November. But what we focus on is we focus on 100 degrees. We figure at that point, if you're staying below 100 degrees, your evening and morning temperatures are going to be down into the 70s. So we're not hovering in the 90s like we can sometimes in August, where it doesn't get below 95 and it's 105 to 110. That's a bad time to plant anything, with a few exceptions, but it's a bad time to plant trees. You're asking for trouble. There's way too much stress at that point in time. So what we're looking for is a 10-day forecast where you're below 100 degrees. At some point in time in September, that definitely happens for us in Whitman. In fact, it's happening now, which is a little bit unusual. But our 10-day forecast, it's stretched out and we don't get above about 96 degrees at this point. And that puts us back in through the middle of September. If I was to give you guys a date, I would say by the third week of September. So again, around that fall time frame, the official fall time frame, that's usually when we'll see those temps starting to dip below 100 degrees on a regular basis. You'll see some of those mornings dropping into the 60s, upper 60s, lower 70s. You have basically 12 hours of sunlight, but then you have 12 hours of dark, obviously because of the fall equinox. And so all these things coming together to tell you, hey, you know what, now's probably a good time to plant a fruit tree. And again, we're focusing on fruit trees here, okay? So 100 degrees in your 10-day forecast is usually a good bet. if you got a day or two in there where it's tapping 100, but the rest of those things are still true, you're probably going to be okay. So back to, there we go. So next thing would be soil temp. So a couple things I want to point out, reason why fall planting a lot of times is going to be ideal. And it's our preference, as I think it will be obvious as we work through this. So one of the biggest advantages to fall planting and around this timing is the soil temperature. So the soil is still very warm, and warm soils encourage root growth, and that's very important before the winter months. Now, our winters, especially if you're in the city, can be very, very mild. So there are times when you don't even really get frost. You might get a little touch of frost. Sometimes we don't. So we stay in the upper 30s or higher. It's not unusual. But if you do dip down into the 30s or below, that soil definitely starts to cool off a lot. Now, this is, of course, assuming that you don't have a heavy mulch layer. You guys know that we talk about that here all the time. You should always have a nice, thick 8 to 12 inches of mulch completely around the tree. You want to make sure that it's well past the drip line, and that way you're helping to maintain soil temps. Now, that's advantageous on both ends of the spectrum. It's advantageous during the summertime because you're keeping, soil temperatures that outside are well over 100 degrees. You dip down a few inches and obviously that's going to cool off, but they're still very, very warm. And we've shown you guys here with a thermometer, we've had about 8 to 10 inches of wood chip mulch. It's 110, 115 at the surface. It's about 85 degrees down at the soil level. So that is ideal temperatures for root growth, especially for your fruit trees. So here we are in fall, you're planting your tree and the soil is nice and warm, okay? Very, very advantageous because right away, that tree is going to be comfortable sending the roots out, which is extremely critical for the overall health of the tree. So again, another advantage to fall is that soil temperature. So next would be fall flush. Excuse me for a second. If you guys haven't heard that term, what that simply means, it's a time period right now. It usually lasts about 30 to 60 days, depending on when we get out of our summertime temperatures. But it's typically about 30 to 60 days of growing left before winter actually strikes. Now, this can be a very long period of time. In fact, what I'm excited about right now is that storm we had mentioned earlier came through, knocked our temps back. We're here at the beginning of September. We already have a 10-day forecast below 100 degrees, which then puts us into the third week of September. So I'm pretty excited because we have the opportunity right now to potentially plant some trees, get them in the ground now, and have a good 60 to 75 days or more of growth before these trees shut down. And a lot of these are, your deciduous trees, the majority of which we grow, and they will start to shut down, but they won't for the next couple of months. So you're going to get a nice push of growth that's going to, again, drive root growth, which is the most important thing when you're talking about planting any tree, but it's especially a fruit tree here in Arizona, because they're going to get stressed out, especially during the summertime for your standard, your non-tropical trees. So, but that fall flush is critical for us here, and it can be a fairly extended period of time. And so getting that tree in the ground now, you're taking advantage of that fall flush that's going to help to push additional root growth, which is the most critical thing for your new tree. So up next is, again, the roots. So talked a little bit about this with the fall flush, but this time of year, you're going to allow those roots to get established over the winter before the spring and, most importantly, summer months are going to hit. Again, a brand new tree, the most critical thing is root growth immediately. And the advantage we have here this time of year in Arizona is that fall flush, that extended fall flush, to allow those roots to really get established. And again, heavy mulch layer, you can have root growth throughout the winter, and we've seen that, right? So we planted the majority of the apple trees that we got from Reed at RSI Growers, we planted those in October of 2020. And we pulled the wood chips back to extend the rings in, I think it was February or March. So here we are. We go from October, December, January, February. So 3 months later, sorry, 4 months. Try November, Dwayne. So 3 to 4 months later, we're pulling back the wood chip mulch about 5 feet from the tree, and we have feeder roots that are extended past that. So a brand new 5-gallon pot extended 5 feet out from that pot where it was planted in the 4 months over winter, the coldest parts of the year for us here. So you can see the advantages to planting in the fall. We saw them firsthand. Excuse me. So best trees during this season to plant. Not every tree should be going in now, but these will be your best trees. First one would be stone and pome fruit. So when we're referring to stone and pome fruit, excuse me, we're talking about your stone fruit is your peaches, your plums, your apricots. We don't grow cherries here, but that is a stone fruit. All of those are stone fruit. Pome fruit are basically apples and pears. That kind of narrows that down, but that's what you're looking at there. Next set of trees would be berries. So if you have berries, that includes mulberries, blackberries. If you're going to give raspberries a shot, now would be the time to plant those as well. So any of your berries should be going in the ground in the fall. The next one up would be loquats. Now, we've talked about loquats here several times, and I will tell you from experience, we have planted six different loquats now? 6 different loquats with 100% success. No shade, no protection. You guys know we don't do that. But we planted 6 of them with 100% success, planting in the month of October. And really kind of at the beginning. So we're basically talking about end of September, October, the beginning of the official fall season. That is when you want to get your loquats in. No other time of year. If you're going to plant them any other time, particularly in the spring, you will be up against a need for protection. They're going to need some protection because they will not establish roots. Loquats actually really enjoy our fall through winter time frame. It's when they flower and set fruit. So it's the only fruits that we have here that consistently do that. The rest of our fruits are flowering in the spring. Maybe they're flowering in the summer, but it's the only fruit that we have, at least that we're growing, that's flowering in the fall, setting fruit and ripening fruit over the winter. It's an evergreen. And so while it's doing all of those things, it's sending out those roots, which is what we talk about. The only challenging time for a loquat is the summer months. It's the summer time frame. So you want to give that fruit, that tree, as much time as possible, like everything else we're talking about, but loquats is most critical to make sure that that tree is going to be able to withstand the summer months that are coming. And I will tell you, even ours that are in full sun, they get brown and crispy during the summertime. They survive just fine. But the reality is those would be dead trees if we planted them in April or May. We'd be in trouble. So we're coming up on loquat season, guys. So if you want a loquat in the ground, it's about time. Next thing would be figs. If you're going to be putting figs into the ground, the fall through spring time frame is good for figs, but definitely in the fall. Your pomegranates, same thing. Pomegranates can go through any time in the fall through spring time frame, but now is a very good time to be planting your pomegranates. Any of your nut trees, so whether that is your almonds, which are probably the best ones for us here in Arizona, or if you have enough water and are willing to put that much on there, pecans, but your nut trees would go in now. And then I did put bare root trees here. One of the things that we did last year, and we may need to do here in the next couple of weeks, is share with you guys a lot of our resources for online nurseries. And if you guys have been looking for a bare root tree, we would prefer that you go to Reed at RSI Growers because you're going to have more success. But if you're not buying one of his stone or pome fruits, or getting something from us, if it's a fig or a mulberry, but if you're going to be looking for maybe some different varieties and you're doing some online shopping, maybe you're looking for a jujube, which is now's a good time to plant a jujube. Now through spring is a good time for that. Your online nurseries will have those starting here over the next 30 days. In fact, some of them we were looking at jujubes actually, I think this last week. Mm-hmm. And groworganic.com, was it Grow Organic?
I looked at a couple of them, and yeah, there was several that have them.
Yep, I think Planting Justice, if I remember correctly, I know they used to at least, but they're starting to get some of their plants in, and they will all have them here in the next 30 to 60 days. and you'll want to get your bare root tree orders in pretty much now. So you'll see those, and a lot of those are Dave Wilson trees. And so if you're going to go that route, we're coming up to that season now, and you'll be receiving and planting your bare root trees in winter. So that wouldn't be now. In fact, if you aren't going to find a bare root tree now because they're dug out of the ground when they are dormant. So that by design is always going to be in winter, but it is the fall through winter time frame. So, and then the last thing would be some citrus. Now, citrus can be planted in the spring. We've planted citrus pretty late in the spring and been just fine because citrus does actually pretty well for us here in the summertime. But there is some citrus that you can plant in the fall, even if you're expecting cold temperatures. And really, I narrowed these down to lemon, orange, most of your orange varieties, grapefruit, mandarins, which really do actually enjoy our cold temps, mandarins do, and kumquats. So all of those varieties you would be fine to plant here in the fall. But I can't put a blanket statement and say all citrus is good now. There are some exceptions to that. We found that pomelo struggle a little bit in our winter times, and you wouldn't want to put a new pomelo in the ground. Also, your lime varieties. We've got the Mexican lime here, which muscled through our winter just fine last year, but they can struggle just a bit. So I wouldn't say any citrus can go into the ground now, but some of that citrus definitely can. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce back over here for you guys, and then I'm going to have Lori read off. I think that's the end of my list. Do you want to read that off here, Hun, as far as fall, winter planting keys?
Yeah, so timing, you want me to read everything on that, or?
Yeah, just for the folks that are on audio only.
Okay, timing, so wait until temps are below 100 degrees consistently. Soil temp, still warm, encouraging root growth before winter. Fall flush, 30 to 60 days of growing left before winter. Roots will establish over winter before spring and summer. And then best trees during this season. So your stone fruit, pome fruit, berries. Loquats, that would be, we recommend the month of October. Figs, pomegranates, nuts. Your bare root trees, which will be winter. And then some of your citrus. So
that would be your fall, winter list and guidelines. So one of the things, and again, we'll probably wrap up with this, but I will tell you, now is the key time, or at least over the next couple weeks, really is the key time for the vast majority of your fruit trees to get into the ground, okay? So if you've been waiting all summer long to start your backyard orchard, hang in there. You're almost there. So let's go ahead and switch to spring. So obviously we're here in the fall, but there are a couple of things that you would want to wait until spring. You don't want to get them in the ground now. In fact, it would actually be detrimental if you do. So looking at that for our spring planting, some things to keep in mind. First thing would be timing. So once we get into the spring, if you're going to wait or you didn't see the trees you want listed in the fall planting guidelines, timing is going to be after your final frost date. You do not want to be planting these particular trees until after your final frost date. Usually for us here in most parts of the central part of Arizona, we're talking about the month of February. Usually it's sometime in the middle of February. For us out here in Whitman, we found it's probably more like the end of February, beginning of March is when we see our final frost date. Either way, it's typically in the month of February, okay? And you want to make sure you're past that time frame before you're planting these trees in the spring. Something to keep in mind with this season, you guys already know this, heat. So we can get hot very fast, and heat will stress a newly planted tree. Period. End of story. Doesn't matter what kind it is. About the only thing that can survive that sometimes is one of the ones we're going to be talking about here shortly. So protection if you're late on this. So you find that you're ready to plant in the spring, but you don't get those plantings in until, say, the end of March or sometime in April. Realize that you may have to do some protection, especially for sensitive plants. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about here, they can be sensitive. So best trees to plant during the spring season, first thing would be tropicals. So your guava, your banana, your mango, your avocado, your passion fruit, your Barbados cherry you've been eyeing at Seamus's, most of the things that he sells, those are tropical trees, and those should not be planted now. Period. Bad idea, okay? You want to wait for spring. Those things will die during our winter times, okay? Even if it's a mild winter, a newly planted tropical tree is probably going to die on you if you plant it right now, okay? So wait until spring after the final frost for your tropicals. And then lastly would be citrus. Basically, any of your citrus can be planted during the springtime frame. Really, citrus, and that's any citrus. So the pomelo and the lime that we were talking about earlier, you've got a few other, there's one, the Satsuma mandarin can be a little bit challenging for a few different reasons. One of them is simply because of our heat. So, and then the mandarins in general can struggle a little bit during those hotter time frames, but they can all be planted in the spring. So very common. If you guys know Greg Peterson and the Urban Farm Fruit Tree Program, we've taken advantage of that several times. You know that he actually has 2 different time frames when he brings trees in. He has his bare root trees that come in the middle of winter, and then he has his citrus that comes in a little bit later. And so he's found the same thing, and it definitely is very consistent. So citrus can be planted. Some citrus can be planted now. All citrus can be planted once you get into spring and you're past that final frost date. So I'm going to go ahead and get another drink and have Lori kind of review one more time for all those listening in only. Spring planting guidelines.
So timing, wait until final frost date has passed, which is usually February to beginning of March. Heat, we can get hot fast, so can stress new plantings. Protection may need protection for some of your sensitive plants, like your tropicals. And then best trees during this season would be your tropicals, guava, banana, mango, avocado, and then any citrus, all your citrus.
Yep, and then I think that's oh, look at that's the end of my PowerPoint. What do you know? Guess we got all the way through it. So I guess to wrap up, and then we can get into any questions that you guys have. Our preference is to plant most of our trees now. Well, over the next few weeks. And I mentioned already that our forecast is pushed out. We don't have any 100 degrees days. So what did we do this morning?
We planted a tree.
Yes, we did. So here we are, beginning of September, and we planted a black Pakistan mulberry tree that we had in our nursery. And it is in the old goat area, which has our old hens in it now. Mm-hmm. We had a moringa tree that never did well there. We yanked that thing out. We want a lot more shade for our animals over there. And the beauty of that is they will have a blast turning their poop purple when that black Pakistan starts dropping all of its fruit, because the black Pakistans tend to drop a lot of their fruit. Mm-hmm. So we don't get much of a harvest off of those trees most years, because any significant wind comes through, and we get them regularly, blows all the fruit off the tree. All of it. None of it remains. And so we would prefer to have that fall and have some animals take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to put one there. We put the first one in today. I don't know whether or not we'll do a second and third tomorrow, but for sure next weekend we will be planting a couple more mulberry trees over in the poultry area. So, I mean, we're feeling it just like you guys are. This time of year, like as much as we've planted hundreds of fruit trees at this point. We got over 200 here alone. And so we get to the end of spring, we're like, I never want to plant another fruit tree ever again. And then this time of year hits and we're like, okay, so what we can do, let's pull that tree out. I want to replace it with this. And we talked about we're shopping for jujubes for ourselves. We've got 4 different varieties of jujubes, 5 different. And the one that we just planted is going crazy. And so we're looking at a couple more, maybe bringing in a couple more jujubes, yanking a couple pear trees out because they do horribly for us. And so either way, we're looking at all these things and getting ready to plant. We spent, an hour, filmed some of it this morning, right? But planting season. So we get all excited this time of year and just got our garlic in, right? So garlic's here, so we'll be planting that here in the month of October. But fruit trees are definitely now. So, if you've got anything other than a tropical or a couple different types of citrus, you might want to wait until spring. But otherwise, now's the time to find it. Now's the time to buy it. And now is the time to put it in the ground here over the next few weeks. Yeah. So, all right. I'm going to take another drink of water. And what do we got?
Okay, so I want to squeeze in one more orange, but it's pushing up against the house. Which would you prioritize? 5-foot spacing to give it more winter sun, or 6 to 7 foot and shade on south side?
Okay, citrus trees never need shade. Ever. So they always need sun all the time. So that is a tree that I shudder when I see people shading a citrus tree, because you're not doing it any favors. Now, you plant really late, like you plant a citrus tree in May, yeah, you might have to put shade cloth on that thing, but other than that, you should never have to do it. Arizona, one of our 5 C's, is citrus, right? And they need sunlight. The 5 states that grow citrus are sunshine states.
Yeah.
So we're one of them: California, Hawaii, Texas, and Florida. So, and obviously Florida there's not a whole lot of that left because of citrus greening and some other things, but still, it's still a citrus state. It can be grown commercially. And the reason why is our sunlight. They need that sunlight as an evergreen. So I would absolutely prioritize sunlight as much as possible on any fruit tree, but especially citrus. Okay. So that should help give you some guidance.
Do you prefer the Lisbon lemon trees or Meyer lemon trees? My Lisbon looks like it's growing quickly in the ground. My Meyer is potted and growing much slower.
Right. So the Meyer in general is a slower grower, and it can be a little bit finicky. So I have not had a Lisbon. I can't tell you from personal experience because we've never grown one. Our very first fruit tree in Arizona was a Eureka lemon. So similar to that, larger lemons, thicker rinds, generally a faster growing tree. That was our first lemon tree, and it was very productive, and it grew really well in horrible conditions. But the fruit quality on a Meyer is far superior. So it's the reason why it's a chef's lemon, right? So thinner peel. There's a lot. They're very, very dense as far as the juice is concerned. Supposedly they're sweeter, but I'm sorry, it tastes like a sour lemon. It's a lemon. It tastes sour to me. I can't tell the difference, but it is a very, very good lemon. Little on the smaller side. Okay, it's not usually as big, although we've gotten some nice size Meyer lemons here, but the tree can be finicky. So, it, especially when it's young, it will try to flower like crazy and not put on any leaf matter in the middle end of spring when summer's about to hit. And sometimes they just don't grow all that fast. The one we have here is going on 5 years old. Actually, it might be 5 years old. I don't remember. And it is completely loaded with fruit. I mean, we've taken a ton of fruit off of that thing. And it grows pretty well at this point. But it will overproduce for you as far as the fruit is concerned. And it's a better quality fruit, in my opinion. So that's the one that I would choose.
Do you think I can grow kiwi in Bullhead City? And
No.
if so, varieties that can withstand heat, male, female?
We've never been successful with kiwi. So now we did hardy kiwi. I haven't tried a tropical kiwi. The challenge that you're going to have there is it is probably just way too hot and dry. If you wanted to try, you can. So, but you're going to struggle. So I have yet to find anybody here in town that's been really successful with kiwi. Nobody has. And so, and you're in Bullhead City, so it's hotter. So, and the heat kills them. I mean, it's too hot.
And you do need a male and a female.
You do need a male and female. Yep.
So you need both if you want fruit.
Yep. So you need both. And then the hardy kiwis don't even bother. They don't survive our summers at all either. So we had, I think, 6 or 8 different varieties that we attempted on the old farm, and they grew great. So, we planted them. I think we might have gotten them in February or March. Planted them, and they grew fantastic. Several feet of growth. And then June hit, and they all died. Every one of them. None of them survived. So we haven't tried it since. Yeah. I would try to find another fruit. There's so many things you can grow successfully in Bullhead City. Pretty much anything that you see us growing here, you can definitely grow in Bullhead City. So I would choose any of the other things that you can grow. It's an extensive list of things you can do really well with there. And so I would focus on the things will do well. That's what I would prefer for you. If you're going to give it a shot, you're going to have to protect them. So, and this is a vine that if it does grow on you, is going to grow aggressively. So you're going to need to be able to very quickly and easily expand that protection. So if you give it a shot and it's successful, you got to let us know.
When your son was young and before you had this property, did you grow any fruit trees or have a garden?
Yes to both. The only time we've really done any gardening has actually been when we moved out to Whitman. So if you guys, I don't know whether or not you can find my Facebook page. You might be able to, but I posted something on my Facebook page. It's a picture of our first garden bed. It's a little 4x8 wooden garden bed. So our house in Rosemont, I'm going to answer the question, but I need to give some detail. So our house in Rosemont was on a 5,500 square foot lot. So just your normal postage stamp little lot. The house takes up most of that. So the only thing we had were 2 little strips of land on either side of the house, a very, very small front yard that basically had a fig tree in it. So, well, actually had a fig tree and a mandarin. And we weren't supposed to do that. It was in an HOA. So I'm sure whoever, subsequent owners probably got in trouble for one of those trees. Sorry, guys. But the backyard was not very big either. I think it was about maybe 20 or 30 feet deep by however wide that was on that rectangular lot, 40 or 45 feet. So the solar aspect, the front of the home faced south. So the north side was where we were growing. And of course, that's a problem. So what did I do, not knowing any different? I took a 4x8 foot planter bed made out of wood, and I put it right up against the house. So it basically got no sun except for the middle of summer when nothing grows there. So otherwise it got basically no sun or very, very limited sun. So you can imagine we got basically nothing out of there. I don't know if we got any production. I think we got a few peas, and that's about it. But on that property, we had the fig tree up front that never really grew or produced anything. We had a mandarin. I don't know. I know it did produce, but I don't know how long it lasted because it wasn't there. We weren't there very long after we started planting everything. In the back, we had 2 different apple trees. We had the lemon tree, was speaking about here just a few minutes ago, was a Eureka lemon that we planted in the early 2000s. And we got fruit, I think, at year 4, and we did everything we could to kill that tree. Mm-hmm. Everything that we tell you guys not to do with citrus trees or fruit trees in general, we did there. We had it planted up against a wall. It was the western wall, so at least it was eastern facing. But we had it planted right up against a wall. We had it in rock mulch. We had 1 or 2 gallon per hour emitters right up next to the trunk. And that was it. We did that for years. And so I would take those little Vigoro fertilizer stakes every once in a while, pound them into the ground next to at least I put them next to the irrigation. So there's that. And so that was about it. And about 3 to 4 years in, we got more lemons than we could possibly deal with, right?
Yeah.
So for the first time, we were trying to figure out how do we give all this away, and everybody's got lemons in December and January. So that's when we figured out to freeze them in ice cube trays, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, but we had that. We had a second orange tree that was kind of up against the fence. We just didn't have a lot of space, and we had other things going on in the backyard. We had a really nice barbecue and island. We had a couple massive sisu trees because we were looking at a 20-foot unfinished concrete wall was what our view was outside of there. You guys can probably see why this view is the way it is. Yes, that's why. So that wall was put in after we moved there. We had a beautiful mountain view prior to that, and then a 20-foot unfinished concrete wall went in about 5 years in, something like that. We were there for 16 years, so we were doing the best we could to block that out. And those 2 sisu trees, I was just there a few months ago.
Yeah.
Drove by.
Still there.
Those things were probably 50 or 60 feet tall. So at this point, that new owner can't see the wall.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. So to answer the question?
Yep.
Okay. Is Misco here?
I have not seen him, no.
Oh, that's a bummer. Well, we're still going to have his snacks.
Yep. I put a loquat in the ground in the spring and it died. Zone 8B in Georgia.
Yeah.
Try again in October.
Yeah, and I will tell you this. So, you are in 8B. We're pretty darn close to you out here in Whitman. So we are officially 9B, but we're really 9A. So we've hit 20 degrees solid. So you're about 5 to 10 degrees colder. So you should be fine no matter what with your winter times and your loquats. The only challenge you may face, because this really kind of is more of a tropical-ish kind of tree, is you may struggle a little bit with fruit set because you may be too cold. So the flowers may not make it. So even though the tree itself may do okay, that may struggle. I don't know for sure. So you may be okay. I may be mistaken. Maybe there's loquats huge in Georgia. But if you're going to try it, yeah, October, it's just, again, too hot. It's just way too hot for that spring planting.
What is your favorite loquat?
The champagne loquat is probably my favorite loquat still, and it's the earliest variety. It's very, very good. The Big Jim is pretty darn close, and it's a little bit later. And it's obviously a bigger fruit, as the name implies. Now the Yehuda we planted in October was slow to grow over the summer, survived just fine. Again, one of the 6 that survived. But we had the fully grown Yehuda, the old farm, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really good. So we really wanted one here. So we haven't gotten fruit off of this one, obviously, yet.
No. So, so once that comes in, we'll have a chance to kind of try that around. They're all ripe after over about a 30 to 60 day period. So we'll get an idea, because I'm not sure where it falls in that timing as far as when it's ripe. We
haven't had them so long.
Right. So I don't know, is it as good as the champagne like I remember? I'm not sure. But the champagne is hard to beat. And the Big Jim is very good. And the Big Jim is relatively easy to find. So I usually tell folks, if you're just not sure, get the one that's easy to find, the Big Jim. There's a reason why they propagate so many of those, because it's a nice big fruit. The tree grows well for a loquat, and the fruit tastes great. So
one I would not recommend is the Gold Nugget.
Don't get the Gold Nugget. Yeah, not for us here in Arizona, at least. It's ripe too late. That's the problem. And it's a small fruit, so not a lot of flesh. And because we're so dry in our summer times when it's trying to ripen, they just don't do well. So the tree is probably our best looking loquat tree. It's, beautiful, big and bushy, all these other things, but the fruit, and it sets a lot of fruit. And we even thinned the fruit this year, thinking that would help. No, it didn't. So, honorable mention though, Macbeth.
Oh, Macbeth, so that's a good fruit.
The Macbeth fruit as well. We have a problem with a disease in our tree, but when it does finally set fruit, it's actually very good. So,
what about jujube? So I think it's it was probably back when you were talking about as far as planting, but I think you did touch on it after that.
Right. Yeah, I didn't list that together, but jujubes would be the same thing, fall through winter. Most people wind up getting a bare root jujube. So we got 3 of ours from Planting Justice, I believe. Pretty sure it was Planting Justice. The Empress G, the Aunt Admire, and the Lang that we have, all of those were actually potted. And then the Shanxi Li, and the Honey Jar that we just got, those are bare root. And then the ones we're looking at now, we're probably going to wind up being bare root as well, would be my guess. So,
the white flies are covering my grapes. How can I kill them?
I don't know. That's a great question. I have no idea. So we haven't been successful with that either. So I'm very hesitant to spray. We don't spray for pests here. And white flies have been a problem for the last couple of years for us, the last 3 seasons in a row. And they damage the vines, but they don't hurt them. So they're still growing. It's just they don't look good. It looks like fall, honestly.
Yeah, and we did try a spray.
We had a dormant spray that we put on it this year.
When they were dormant.
It did seem like it delayed them.
Yeah.
So I think it did delay them, but we didn't lose them. They found us.
Was that the copper?
Yeah, it was copper and neem. We did a combination of copper
and neem that we tried on them.
But we won't back to that. We won't spray during the growing season. So the only thing we'll put on the trees during the growing season is zinc on our pecan trees, and it's only because we have to. Other than that, we really don't. We just don't do it. And so, in the end, I think it's at least from what we've seen here over the last few years, it doesn't kill them. They don't look great, but most of our trees right now don't look fantastic. So they're not any different. One of the things I did notice is that they don't seem to be bothering the Cabernets. And the Cabernets are on a rootstock. They're on a Paulson rootstock. So, and I know that was suggested by Reed at RSI Growers, and I wonder if that's part of it. It could be. Because things that struggle, nothing looks like the grapevines don't look like they're struggling. But either way, yeah, I don't have a good answer for you there. Maybe somebody's got a suggestion for us in the comments.
Best time to plant grapevines?
That's now, so fall through spring. So grapevines are typically, and that can be in spring. So the grapevines grow really, really well pretty much throughout the growing season. So spring through fall. We were just mentioning whiteflies. So our grapevines look a little rough, but they're still growing. So they're still putting on new growth here all summer long. Their main growth spurt is in the spring, though. So you want to get them in before that happens. And a lot of times you're going to find grapes are bare root. So it's very common to find grapes bare root. In fact, our first several grapevines were bought from Home Depot, and they were bare roots that they sold there in little sleeves in the month of January, right next to all their bare root roses. So very common to do those in the middle of winter as a bare root. So, one last caveat to that, though. So we've always done that, and I would prefer to plant them in the fall, let them go dormant, etc., like we just talked about, or plant them as a bare root in the wintertime. However, our bare root Blanc de Bois, those are our newest wine grapes. All of them, two of them have reached the 6-foot wire so far. We'll talk about that because different pruning system with them we're going to share with you guys. But they were extremely late. We got those in April. So no, that's a huge no. And I was there was a place back in New York. They don't start shipping until April because they're shipping everybody back east. And so I'm like, guys, I'm in Arizona. I want these and I need them in February, right? February, March. So we got them in the middle of April, way, way late. And so, but those, it took a few weeks, but they pushed out new growth and they're just fine right now.
Yeah.
So they're pretty darn resilient.
Okay, so we got a lot of questions.
Okay,
here, so
I got to try to buzz through.
Yeah. So just FYI, RSI Growers is out of stock on citrus, peaches, and vines.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So he must have never recovered.
Yeah.
Last year.
When do you do part 2 of the farm finances?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. We'll get that on the books. See what I did there? Get it on the books. Farm finance. Yeah. Anyways, financial humor there.
When is a good time to plant olive trees?
Olive trees can be, it's an evergreen, so it's pretty much fall or spring. You can probably plant them during the wintertime. We planted ours in spring. I believe it was March, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of your typical spring, and they're doing fantastic. I'm glad you asked. We were just talking about olives today, and the fact that those 2 olive trees we put in look fantastic. Both of them are about 6 feet tall, and I've pruned them back a few times over the summer to kind of shape them a bit, and they are doing fantastic. So spring is obviously very, very good. My guess is fall would be just fine too. Those are trees that are native to the Middle East, and our weather here is identical, basically. So they do really, really well for us here, and can be planted anytime spring through fall.
Could you please talk about yuzu lemon trees?
I don't know what that is. So
I pulled it up. So it's an East Asian citrus fruit.
Huh. Cross between lemon and grapefruit. Interesting. Huh. I don't know enough about it, honestly. I just a little whatever AI is telling us here.
Yeah. So I just Googled it, and there's some information on there about it.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not going to pretend like I do.
I really struggled with bare root, even though part of it was a late delivery last winter. I only tried 2. One is still alive. I have 2 apples, 1 peach, and 2 citrus in nursery pots for fall planting.
Right.
I thought there was a question in there.
Yeah, so the challenge there, just a comment real quick. So the biggest challenge with any bare root tree, if you're talking about stone fruit or pome fruit, is incorrect rootstocks for us here in Arizona. So pome fruit, the M111 does work. So we have had some success with that, but it's typically, it won't be as good as Reed's rootstocks. That he won't even tell me what it is. But if he has apple trees and you're here in Arizona or stone fruit, you want to get them from Reed at RSI Growers. He uses the Hansen rootstock for his stone fruit, and it's fantastic for us here. But they're not bare root. They're potted trees for him. that he grafts himself. He grows out the rootstocks himself. So, but that is the challenge with what you're finding with those bare root trees is incorrect rootstocks for us here in Arizona.
This is just interesting. The month of October's name in, I think it is Turkey, means season of planting.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh?
I am trying to hedge 5 loquat trees. They are closer together, like 4 feet maybe. How close is too close, and how far apart would you plant them if you wanted to make a hedge with them?
I think you're pretty darn close, to be honest with you. So I'm assuming you're here in Arizona.
Bow tie.
Oh, bow tie. Okay, so I would say I would probably have gone 6 feet on center, to be honest with you. But just knowing how wide our loquats are now, our loquats are all 4 years old, give or take, and for the most part, they're all about 4 to 5 feet in diameter and still growing. So within a few years, they're going to be together, which is what you want. I'd say you probably wouldn't want more than 6 feet either. So I think you're probably in the sweet spot there. So I think you're probably going to be fine. So, and you want it to be a hedge. So the reality is you're probably going to be, you're going to be okay. The challenge will simply be you want to make sure you're going to be fertilizing them a little more often than you probably would have otherwise, because they're going to be sharing that, also going to be sharing water and whatnot. But, and are they the same variety? So these do grow, they aren't all aggressive. So if you have multiple varieties, you may have one that's more aggressive than another. And if they're planted too close together, the aggressive tree will take over that little guy. So, and that may struggle because that little guy may not do well. So,
what is your favorite jujube so far?
Honey jar. We had one ripe honey jar, and so far,
yeah, that one was good. It was the best. But I like the Ant Admire.
The Ant Admire is fantastic. Planting Justice. That's where we got the Ant Admire, and it's a very, very good jujube. Now we're talking about adding a couple different varieties. One of them is supposed to be like one of the premier varieties. If we can find it and get it here, I'm seriously considering pulling a couple of pear trees to get 2 more in.
And jumping down a bead had said the GA866.
That's the one. Yep, that's
one of them.
It.
Yep. So I found that poinsettias are a trap plant for whiteflies for bow tie.
Okay, good to know.
So when poinsettias are near, my plants get no whiteflies, but the poinsettias will be covered with the whiteflies.
Oh, good
interesting.
Good to know.
Do you have scales on your mandarin trees? If yes, how do you deal with the problem?
No, we don't. So I wouldn't know how to deal with that. Sorry.
Have you think of oleaster trees?
Oleander?
It doesn't say oleander. Oleaster.
I don't know what that is either.
Its flower smells fantastic.
I mean, oleander flowers have a real strong smell to them. Did you mean oleander or is it oleaster? I'm not sure. I mean, oleander, no, we won't put oleanders in. But so if that's what you mean, I'm not sure what you mean. So we don't generally put anything on the farm that's not a productive tree. So that wouldn't be one.
Yeah, I guess it's
It might be oleander.
No, oleaster.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is. I got a lot of good questions today, and I don't know what the answer is.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what that is either. I'll see if I can Google it real quick.
Any other questions?
No.
Hey, look at that. We actually got through, and it's on time. No way. Hey, real quick, there was we talked a little bit about you guys sending us some questions, but every week we have the topic that we talk about with you guys, but what we don't always get to are the bonus questions that we have. So one of the things that we get here is we get questions and requests, right? And they don't always apply to us. And Lori has the farm phone, right? So if you call the farm phone, that's Lori's cell phone. And she will pick up the vast majority of the time. In fact, do you have like a designated area where you don't pick up?
I have it shut off to where my notifications is turned off.
So it silences at 5 or 6 o'clock or something?
Yeah, I think it's 6:30.
Right. So
6:30 to 6:30 or something.
So Lori will get questions all day, all night, well, into the evening. So anyways, she gets these random questions, and we always chuckle a little bit because people find us different ways. But usually it's through Google, and it's typically they're asking for something, and they live somewhere around here, in the general vicinity, say northwest part of the Phoenix area, and they will call us for random things. Like we had a phone call from somebody a few weeks ago. He wanted to rent ducks. Rent ducks and geese.
For a birthday party.
For a birthday party, right? So it was fun talking to him and talking him out of that, because that would have been a huge disaster.
And they wanted to have them inside their house.
Inside the house, yeah. So if any of you guys have had ducks before, let's just say it can be, well, they can be a little crappy. We'll just leave it at that, right? But so we talked him out of that, I think, fortunately. But we got a request a few weeks ago. Somebody called, dead serious, and asked us if we were a llama petting zoo. A llama petting zoo. That was a request that Lori took and did everything she could to keep a straight face and say, unfortunately, we don't raise llamas here.
So we're not a llama.
We're not a llama petting zoo. So
yeah.
If you guys are looking for a llama petting zoo, this is not your place.
Yeah.
This isn't it.
And then the one I got the other day
what was the one the other day? I don't remember the one the other day.
Asking if we sell turkey kneecaps.
Turkey kneecaps. Yeah, turkey kneecaps. And you even asked twice, right?
I'm like, what?
Turkey kneecaps? Like, you cut when you butcher a turkey or a chicken, there's a specific cut you make, so you have the feet and you have the leg attached to the animal. If you cut on both sides of it, you could have a kneecap. So you could do that.
You have just like a little.
It's just a little, I don't know. So I tried to find a recipe for turkey kneecaps. I couldn't. I found one for beef kneecaps. Okay. But turkey kneecaps. Yep. So llama petting zoo and a turkey kneecap, not your place. This isn't it.
Oh, I've had people call me asking if we sell pineapple plants.
Yep, pineapple.
We've never grown pineapple.
Never grown pineapple. So, but either way, it was fun. We got a chuckle out of that one.
It's funny, the calls that we get.
Yeah,
but this oleander is like a
wild olive.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe. Might consider trying something like that.
So it's like a Russian olive is what I pulled up.
Oh, okay. So more like an autumn olive kind of thing, maybe. Something similar. I don't know. Cool. All right. Well, I think we're right up against time. So we didn't get to our snacks today, but Misko isn't here, so maybe that's best. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. If there's any last questions, we will get to that here very quickly, but we'll try. But this was the Desert Farmer Podcast, episode 70. I hope today was informative for you, especially you guys listening to this here in the future. And it really encouraged you guys to get out there here in the next few weeks and start planting some fruit trees. If we can do anything, we would really want to encourage you to do that. But we want to thank you for joining us today. Remember, we are here every Saturday at 2 o'clock Arizona time. Arizona does not change time here like everybody else does next month. But it's 2 o'clock Arizona time on Saturdays. We have this here live. We want to make sure that we're doing this for you guys. You know, time is the most valuable thing we have here on the planet. You guys choose to spend all this time with us. This is our way of giving it back to you guys. We want to make sure this is for you. And we're covering the topics you want. So if you have any questions for the podcast, you can get a hold of us a lot of different ways. Pretty much any social, we're on it, even TikTok these days. But Facebook, Instagram, obviously YouTube here. I mentioned TikTok. You can find us any of those ways. You can message us through our website. Very easy to find our email addresses. You know, it's edgeofnowherefarm.com. You can use one of our names and it gets here. So a lot of ways to get a hold of us. Would love to see those questions from you. Even had one mailed. Didn't see Pam today, but she did mail us a question. So, but either way, want to make sure this is geared towards you guys. So if you could please get those questions in, maybe you'll see it as a topic of the day. So any last question?
No questions, but Bowtie just commented on the turkey kneecaps. So
okay.
Yeah, so we'll have to look at that. And Lori, you do really good on your videos. Thank you.
I agree. You do fantastic on this. You do fantastic. Awesome. Well, want to thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you next week on Saturday at 2 o'clock Arizona time, right? 2 o'clock Arizona time. But until then, just want to remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere,
so can you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.